Warm greetings from South Africa. My name is Donny Pethan. I work for an organization called Trade and Investment Kwazulu Natal. I'm the General Manager for Business Retention and Expansion. It's an opportunity, it's a great opportunity given to us to be part of this very important conference. And we appreciate being given the opportunity to speak on the Kwazulu Natal Halal initiative. The Halal initiative is essentially a partnership, a collaboration with our economic development partners in Kwazulu Natal. That's the Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, with our private sector partners being Al Baraka Bank, Munara Chamber, SANA, and the National Independent Halal Trust. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Trade Investment Kwazulu Natal is a provincial government organization. Our mandate is about bringing foreign direct investments into the province of KwaZulu Natal, also facilitating new domestic investments. And those investors, both foreign and domestic, businesses that are located in the province, to help them with their good to great journey in terms of reinvestment, so there are expansions, and also matters relating to new market development opportunities in terms of exports out of South Africa to Africa and to our world markets, etc. The organization, obviously, it's affiliated to the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, that's the DTIC, and what perhaps you may be familiar with is Investment South Africa. So we have the one-stop shop, and where we collaborate with all our strategic partners. That collaboration through the one-stop shop is about working with our district municipalities, government departments at the municipality level, at a provincial level, and at a national level, in terms of easing matters relating to the administration of securing investments in this province. Also, we work with our chambers of commerce and industry. In South Africa, we have lots of different industry associations and export councils, so we collaborate and work with them. In addition to that, it's also very important to us to have our good relations with the foreign embassies that are based in South Africa, in KwaZulu Natal, and also our South African embassies based in international destinations, so that collaboration with these important political office bearers. Obviously, as a provincial investment promotion agency, we collaborate with the other provincial investment agencies in South Africa, in the other 8 provinces. And from organizations such as our small enterprise development agencies and the development finance institutions. At the national level, we have the Industrial Development Corporation, the National Empowerment Fund. At the provincial level, we have the Grazing Growth Fund, we have ITALA, etc. So it's about accessing the funding opportunities with these organizations to benefit our investors and our traders. We're structured in our organization in terms of our operational units to help us to do the work that we need to perform. We have an investment promotion unit, an export promotion unit. We have a Gauteng office involving destination marketing and the relationship with our foreign embassies. The unit that I'm from is business retention and expansion, and also knowledge management to help us with our statistics and information and project packaging, etc. So why are we structured? Well, the provincial government has invested in us for the purposes of marketing our destination. So as you know, KwaZulu Natal, it's located on the eastern seaboard, and very sophistication in terms of its infrastructure and in terms of its wide its contribution strategically to the South African economy. So we are, yes, the second largest economy in South Africa, contributing just over 16% in terms of our GDP. But I think in terms of orientating yourselves in terms of South Africa and in terms of KwaZulu Natal, as you would know, South Africa has a population of 59 million people, with KwaZulu Natal having 11.5 million of that. In terms of South Africa's GDP, over 3 trillion in terms of our round value of our GDP versus 501.6 billion rands in terms of KwaZulu Natal's contribution to the GDP. In terms of a GDP per capita, as a South African level, 81,835 rands versus KwaZulu Natal, 66,254 rands. So in terms of exports, and particularly looking at our year-to-date figures, in terms of 2020, export values from a national level was 103 billion rands. From KwaZulu Natal, we were just over 53 billion rands. So we make a significant contribution in terms of our exports, and basically because of the strategic advantage in terms of how we are positioned as our ports, etc. From our main trading partners, South Africa's main trading partners are China, United States, Netherlands, United Kingdom, Germany, versus KwaZulu Natal is the USA, UK, Germany, Japan, China, and Namibia. So in terms of our strengths as a province, we have KwaZulu Natal, our two ports, namely the port of Durban and the port of Richards Bay. And yes, we are responsible for 65% of South Africa's containerized trade. So in terms of the value proposition, looking at our strategic location, certainly we have a large labor force with various skill sets. We have an excellent transport infrastructure, as mentioned, our two ports, and then looking at our international airport, for example, King SHAKA International Airport, and our road and rail network. In addition to that, in terms of our proximity to our African countries and accessibility of our infrastructure, our road and rail networks to the African markets, and yes, in terms of our good quality of life from climate, diversified culture, and natural endowments. As a population, we have a very nice young population as well, of a large youth population. And certainly we are large entrenched industries that are based in this province, which I will talk to you a little later on. And we have available land and competitive pricing, and certainly a resilient economy with strong growth potential. As an organization, we had to market, these offerings, in particular from a sector focus, looking at manufacturing, tourism, agriculture, agro-processing, property, industrial development, services, transport, and logistics, and our ocean economy, the growth potential in terms of these sectors that I've got highlighted on the screen. So just to mention just very few, with regards to the automotive sector, our clothing and textile, footwear, leather manufacturing, chemicals. So whilst we are strengthening those sectors and in the value chain, also there's an opportunity for reinvestment and to attract new investments into these sectors as well. Later on, I will share some insights into that. So the strategic focus has been, as mentioned, will be our manufacturing. The Aerotropolis in terms of the King SHAKA International Airport and the developments around that, and our tourism sector, and looking in the abundance in terms of our agricultural land, our growth opportunities associated with agriculture, the maritime industry, and our evolving services sector. In context, and bringing it now to in terms of the Halal initiative, the Halal initiative is really then looking at the growth potential and the growth opportunities associated, very importantly, with this particular sector. We know that the changes in the global Halal landscape has attracted many countries' enterprise efforts in developing the Halal industry. We have looked at from the learnings of Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, and also to an extent New Zealand as well. And so we have benchmarked ourselves in terms of the, this has been a fast growing sector for quality in terms of looking at health and lifestyle, issues around safety. And so there is obviously a strong interest for KwaZulu Natal, South Africa, to look at building its capabilities and capacity in terms of the Halal sector. So what have we done to date, and how has our process started? Well, way back in 2015, we then commissioned a pre-feasibility study into the Halal industry, and which has looked at the markets and look at what best practices that are taking place externally to us. We've seen through that, obviously, the growth of the Halal markets and the evolving nature of those Halal markets in terms of its opportunity, but also it being an important opportunity to help us in our transformation agenda in terms of creating new opportunities for our people, and in terms of our transformation opportunity, the previously disadvantaged given an opportunity to participate in this very important sector. So thereby attracting more non-Muslim consumers and to prefer purchasing of Halal products, and also our companies also being, heading up those operations in this Halal sector. And obviously, through that is to tap through into the potential opportunities associated with the export markets and to grow that, and to with the capabilities that are out there and the firms that are doing well, is to also attract them into manufacturing into our province. So that's largely the type of foundation of our Halal initiative. So what we have learned from from our studies and the findings and what's taking place in the best practices out there, and looking at the segmentation of the markets, if we give focus to the logistics and services, cosmetics and the personal care, and looking at the food and beverage market, and then also then looking at the downstream, the value chains that are associated with this, from ingredients to healthcare services, we can then create a very robust and very thriving, opportunities, economic opportunities out of this allow industry, allow focused industry applications, from Islamic banking to lifestyle, tourism, etc. In terms of the value chains, and from the opportunities that we've seen in the terms of the research, etc., that we've been privy to, if we had to look at from input to breeders and the animal feed, fertilizers and pesticides, to at the production at the agricultural level, to the agri-processing level, and then looking at then the manufacturing value add, logistics and processing, distribution opportunities, repackaging opportunities, and obviously marketing and the retail experience from that, and together with the type of consumer experience that arises out of that, we create an opportunity in the whole value chain, from production to supply. So in terms of what we've been privy to in terms of the study and looking what's going out there, we know that allowed consumption in sub-Saharan Africa, it is, from what we've been told, is $114 billion US. So it's a significant market in terms of meat products, and looking at matters of product opportunities associated with meals, canned food, frozen foods, and instant foods, etc. From in South Africa, and in particular in KwaZulu Natal, we do have prominent companies who are, playing their part in their space in terms of the halal industry, from the likes of Star Meats to the brands of Unilever, Nestle, Willerton, Tiger Brands, and Amina, etc. But there are many companies who are manufacturing and, in fact, supplying, to international markets. An organization where we have assisted these companies with markets, be it in Oman, the UAE, Africa, and there's been some in terms of allowed certified exhibitions, international exhibitions, marketing and promoting opportunities associated with the halal industries. We have participated in those industries and exhibitions, etc. So we work with our certification bodies, the halal certification bodies in KwaZulu Natal, and that's the Independent Halal Trust and the South African National Halal Authority. So these are our strategic partners. In terms of the Halal Initiative implementation plan, we appreciate all of the support that we're getting from the Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, so our MEC and the senior leadership, in terms of them setting aside budget for us, in terms of the feasibility, the development of the business plan, and some of our international marketing campaigns. And the program really outlines the following attributes. Stakeholder engagement at local and international. So there's buy-in and support from our economic development partners in this province, internationally as well, nationally, through what we're doing. Also the collaborations with what other provinces are doing in KwaZulu Natal, particularly the Eastern Cape, the Free State, and the Western Cape. In terms of our transformation program, and as I mentioned, that South Africa in its transformation agenda, and in the process of addressing historical imbalances, I see this as an important opportunity for non-Muslim participating, and particularly our African brothers and sisters to participate in these opportunities in terms of the manufacturing opportunities or the services opportunity, and thereby creating, a contributing to the sustainability and the longevity of the KZN halal sector. In terms of the misconceptions around halal, and for the purposes of making sure that the right information gets into the public domain, as an organization, as an institution, we do have a lot of information awaiting awareness seminars and engagement sessions, and we work with our strategic partners in that regard, the collaborations. So part of that is in participating even in this international conference, giving us access to the type of audience out there who would want to engage with us to be part of the process in developing our capabilities in the sector, which we will welcome. From other program which we refer to as the researching into the trends, the new opportunities, and packaging those opportunities. This is what sub-program 4 is about, and particularly in the space around looking at 4IR, looking at matters relating to opportunities associated with the clothing and textile sector, pharmaceuticals, neutrals, the food and beverage industry, and the chemical sector. These are ongoing research, performed by Trade Investment KZN and with its partners. But we welcome collaborations, with companies in our international domain who can bring their experience and expertise to further assist us with identifying these opportunities. From a sub-program 5, and really here our focus is on the halal tourism strategy. The sector in itself, we believe that has opportunity for growth, for the participation of Muslim and non-Muslim, travelers, and an opportunity for being a very friendly destination. And we believe that we have the capabilities to do so. And in fact, there are some leading brands who are, have made it halal friendly in terms of their lifestyle, in terms of the tourism, lifestyle opportunities in this particular sector. So I think it's an evolving and a growing sector to create more new investments into this to help us to further develop the tourism sector. In terms of our stakeholder engagements and the participation at a national level, at a provincial level, and at a municipality level, we have the buy-in and support from our political office bearers. In terms of our economic development partners and working with our organizations such as the chambers, your NGOs, media partners, tertiary institutions. So there's synergies and collaborations that are taking place there. And then looking at in terms of our designated industrial hubs, industrial development zones, these special economic zones such as your Dubai Trade Port and the Richards Bay IDZ. And certainly there's opportunities in terms of, bringing halal compliant industries into these locations as well. The collaboration then with our interprovincial partners from Western Cape, Eastern Cape, and Mpumalanga and the Free State in terms of looking at where companies would want to expand and companies would want to, further their market development opportunities and opportunities for job creation, etc., in this particular value chain. International stakeholders, obviously dealing with in terms of looking at the countries that are doing well in this particular space and the learnings and the sharing of information. We're appreciative of the support, for example, like from Malaysia and Indonesia in terms of the study tours that are taking place, and even Singapore as well, in terms of their body of knowledge that they have shared with us from our Southeast Asian partners. Looking at the type of events that we participated, be it Gulf Foods, Oman Foods, etc., in the UAE, and the learnings that have taken place there to further strengthen our operations. And certainly we believe that the evolving market development opportunities in Africa, and looking at our association in terms of our trading bloc with the Brazil, Russia, India, China, there's opportunities, to further grow both market development opportunities and investment opportunities in this particular space. We have, looking at the halal industry and the sector opportunities, the two-way trade and investment opportunities. So certainly there are opportunities for investments in this space, and the benchmarking exercise that I've alluded to earlier has allowed us to to further identify the type of infrastructure capabilities that we'd want to create to further attract new investments into the sector. When looking at Islamic finance and being, compliant to the principles of Sharia or Islamic law, compliance requirements, the commercial banks that are in South Africa, in KwaZulu Natal, do have that value offering in terms of Islamic finance opportunities. And as I mentioned, our important partner being Al Baraka Bank as well. So the facilities are available in terms of investors, wanting to access finance in terms of Islamic finance instruments, etc. So there is that foundation that is available there. I thought I'll just also use the opportunity to talk about some of the strengths of the province of KwaZulu Natal, and in particular, the products that we're manufacturing and exporting and going to world markets. So as you would know that in terms of the automotive sector, we have Toyota and OEM, and we have lots of tier ones and tier two, component manufacturers that supply into that value chain. Those products, be it at the OEM, the vehicles, and the component parts, are also exported to world markets. In addition to that, our sugar industries and the food and beverage industry products are exported into world markets. Just to put some names to that, in terms of looking at some of the companies that are playing in this particular space. If you look at the Indian Ocean Export Company, Ilangeni Soaps, Minis Foods, Nature Zone, the Great Heart of Africa, and Royalty Agribusiness, just to mention some of the few companies who are exporting, manufacturing and exporting their products to world markets. So we're very active in terms of the chemicals and plastics space, furniture, arts and craft products, pulp and paper, and the likes of our SAPI, Mondi, has mentioned a few of those companies. In terms of our engineering companies and consultancy services, electronics companies, PFK Electronics and others, leisure boats, transport equipment, logistic equipment, machinery, jewelry. So there's a whole host of both semi and value-added products that are exported from South Africa, from KwaZulu Natal, manufactured in KwaZulu Natal, and exported to world markets. The slides that I'm putting up on the screen here is just an indication of some of our world markets and some of the value of our products, into the world market. So particularly when we start looking at the type of agreements and international agreements that we have in place with South Africa, as the South Africa and the AGOA, the African Growth and Opportunity Act, in terms of that trade agreement, bilateral, allowing for easy access to designated products into the US market, the South African European Union Free Trade Agreement. Then we also have the general system of preference, where member countries have given us preferential access into their markets. In addition to that, if we had to look at the SADC, the Southern Africa Development Community, the preferential access. But more importantly, I think what's now taking place is that if you look at the African Free Trade, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, in particular the member countries there in Africa, 55 countries participating in this agreement, the opportunity for preferential access of products from South Africa, from KwaZulu Natal into the markets becomes a considerable advantage going forward. And that's something for our international partners to consider in terms of them locating into here, new businesses created in KZN for the purposes of not only looking at the domestic markets, but also looking at our neighboring African markets, and particularly the markets in the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and then looking at those additional traditional markets that I've mentioned on from the US, Germany, the European Union, etc., and the type of bilaterals that allows us to the ease of doing business with those countries. In terms of Africa, I just thought I'd just mention some of the countries that we've been exporting to, and where we have excellent opportunities. But I also want to mention that In terms of the export opportunities, in terms of what we're doing as an organization, is also helping our companies to actually seek out those new opportunities, or what we would refer to as the decision support models. What we do is that we look at the customs tariff headings that our companies are trading in terms of what the products that they're manufacturing. We use a decision support model to actually look at doing a market analysis for our companies, to look at sort of a rifle shot approach of where the realistic export opportunities are. And through that, we look at the tariff heading, looking at the import and export stats that are taking place with regard to the movement of that particular product in world markets, and identifying the realistic opportunities for our South African or Kwazulu Natal products into those world markets. So the decision support tool becomes quite, an important usage for our investors as well when they would want to set up an opportunity in KwaZulu Natal, and then looking at the product opportunity to the markets in Africa and to the world markets. Certainly from an African perspective and looking at our product range, our markets, you can see vehicles, a lot of machinery and equipment, mechanical, our paper and pulp, as I mentioned, some of our finished products, and the food and beverage products, articles of plastics, and the sugars, the confectionery, metals relating to products of steel, and electrical products, etc., and iron and steel, which is exported into Africa. In terms of rest of the world, obviously looking at our capabilities from our smelter plants, like the BHP Billiton facility up there in Richards Bay, and the aluminium products, and then further the refining and the processing of those aluminium products into other forms of products that are then exported into world markets. As mentioned, with regards to vehicles and the paper, pulp, electrical equipment, etc. So in terms of the trade and through the infrastructure that we have, this actually demonstrates to you that in terms of our world-class infrastructure, from our ports, our airport, our land, our road infrastructure network, our rail infrastructure network, the conveyance of goods and services, that can take place quite easily. But I also thought of just also sharing with yourselves that in terms of the Halal initiative, and in particular looking at all the value chains that are associated with that, if we had to then look at our district industrial hubs in terms of looking at our areas of specialization in the province of KwaZulu Natal, these are the areas of significant importance in terms of creating areas of specialization in KwaZulu Natal, which is what our district industrial hub strategy is about. So if we had to look at these locations in the province, from the Amajuba district municipality, looking at the clothing and the textile, from the eThekwini municipality, the automotive supplier park, the Lembe district municipality, looking at matters relating to renewable energy, and then wood processing, perishables, leather processing, and matters relating to electronics hub. So these are matters of interest to us in terms of further creating economic development opportunities, and in particularly looking at the Halal and the Halal value chain, and looking at the geographical distribution of our district municipalities, these industrial hubs, bringing those investments so that we are creating opportunities and job creation opportunities for our people. From the Richards Bay Industrial Development Zone, it's a well-established funky industrial area. It occupies an existing land portfolio of over 216 hectares, expansion covering over 3,000 acres. There's a land available for long-term lease. It provides benefit of a secured customs area, and it's located close to SA's deep port. The type of opportunities that are associated with the Richards Bay Industrial Development Zone, from your metal beneficiation, there's aluminium, titanium, and iron ore, to agri-processing opportunities, pulp, horticulture, meat production, and then also then looking at matters related to ship repairs, shipbuilding, and containerization of cargo, oil and gas, and then renewable and clean energy opportunities, be it solar, fuel cells, biomass, etc. And it also has a techno park, and there's opportunity for companies in that space, particularly in the 4IR, to also locate in that vicinity. In addition to that, we have the Dubai Trade Port Special Economic Zone, which is at the King Shaka International Airport. And it has a 50-year master plan covering over 2,840 acre site. So there's a lot of catalytic, business opportunities. Currently, there's a lot of companies that have located in there, and the park in the industrial development zone, special economic zone, is further expanding in terms of its infrastructure. So it opens up world-class infrastructure in terms of freight-oriented movement, looking at world-class cargo facilities for the purposes of moving goods, time-based goods, in a quick and an efficient manner. So some of in terms of the targeted sectors of opportunities associated with the special economic zone at the Dubai Trade Port is your aerospace and aviation-linked manufacturing industries, agriculture with agro-processing, inclusive of the horticulture and agriculture, electronics manufacturing and assembly, also medical, pharmaceutical production, and clothing and textiles. So really this becomes an important game changer opportunity when looking at the Richards Bay Industrial Development Zone and the Dubai Trade Port. So in terms of our accessibility and looking at King Shaka International Airport, in terms of its connectivity, now we all have been, had to adjust to the new norm in terms of COVID-19 environment. And South Africa has its risk-adjusted strategy from level 5 to level 1. And the announcement from the president yesterday moves us now to level 1. So certainly now this now opens up the our ports and our airports in terms of now the connectivity opportunities. Excuse me, in adjusting to the COVID-19. So with level 1, there's much more better access in terms of to world markets. So particularly, I thought I'll just mention that in terms of when we were operating and before a COVID-19 environment, before we went into this, these are the airlines and the customers that we had based at our King Shaka International Airport, from Emirates, Fly SA, Lula, Qatar, South African Airways, Turkish Airlines, etc. So now moving now into level 1, it opens up the the connectivity options, as we have done in the past, and the movement of our goods and services. So as we return to a normal environment, this is to show you that the capacity that we have and the capabilities that we have in terms of conveyance of goods and services and products to our international markets. In terms of KwaZulu Natal, and just to mention some of the names of the companies, the big brand and multinationals that are based in this province in KwaZulu Natal. So we have Samsung, which is based at the Dubai Trade Port. It has a manufacturing facility. I'd mentioned about our Toyota, the OEM, producing the Toyota Corolla, the Fortuner, and those vehicles are exported into world markets. I mentioned the likes of a Unilever that's paying in the personal home care and like in the cosmetic personal range of products, etc. And producing compliant, halal products. In addition to that, we have the likes of the Bell Equipment and the Mondi's, Grindrod from the Richards Bay Coal Terminal to Sappi, Defy, and Apollo. Now, all of these companies that are here are also making significant reinvestment decisions. Last year, when we had the South African Investment Conference, which was hosted by our president, a lot of these companies had made very significant reinvestment decisions in terms of announcing their expansion programs. And these relates to billions and billions of rands of reinvestment opportunities for KwaZulu Natal. If these companies are doing it, we certainly know that when you do make that investment decision to come to KwaZulu Natal, certainly to reassure you that it will be a soft landing, and Trade Investment KZN looks forward to working with you and partnering with you. So from a KwaZulu Natal perspective, I hope, and from the presentation that I've provided, you can see that in terms of looking at the strategy and looking at our focused areas, and looking in terms of our transformation agenda, in particular the economic transformation agenda, there is certainly a wealth of investment opportunities in KwaZulu Natal. You can see from what I presented to you that this economy in KwaZulu Natal, it's a very diverse economy. And in addition to that, I've also shown you that in terms of the continent's most sought after emerging market and the accessibility in terms of our infrastructure to a global gateway to Africa and to the world. So in that context, and looking at the KwaZulu Natal Halal initiative, so we as an organization, Trade Investment KZN, we've created awareness around the halal. There's interest in buying and support at all levels for us to continue on this good to great journey on the refining our halal industry and creating those opportunities. Those opportunities open up new export opportunities into the markets of Africa. Also, looking at our Gulf countries and the exports where companies from KZN are exporting into that region, it also creates an opportunity to create more export opportunities into that region. Certainly, in terms of this province, collaboration with our international partners, as I mentioned, the type of study tours that took place in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, etc. The relationship that we have and the sister tuning, rather say the tuning agreements that we have, is strengthening that relationship to sharing best practice, to sharing opportunities, to package opportunities, and in order for the purposes of attracting new investors into KwaZulu Natal. Certainly, we would want to grow and consolidate, our traditional markets that we're exporting into. And we certainly see that as an opportunity in the short term. And looking at the medium term, it's allowing, in terms of the transformation agenda, to allow our previously disadvantaged groupings, the population, particularly our African brothers and sisters who are non-Muslims, to also enter this space and to be part of that good to great journey in terms of the transformation agenda of South Africa, of KwaZulu Natal. With the partners that we are dealing with, is making sure that there's compliance matters associated with the allow compliance, and to also in the medium term is to explore those new sector opportunities for new companies to enter into this allow space in KwaZulu Natal. We will be developing, in terms of the long-term approach, is developing new sectors to drive halal in KwaZulu Natal, the creation of that physical we welcome the opportunity of new investors engaging with us in this particular industry, bringing your capabilities, capacities, and expertise to be part of the good story for KwaZulu Natal and for South Africa. In that regard, I want to say thank you for allowing me to give you this brief overview of what we are doing in the space of the KwaZulu Natal Halal initiative, and I thank you kindly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Donny. It was very enlightening and an amazing presentation.